So now, without further ado, our dev team is proud to introduce their vision for the future of Siege.
Wow. So this Sunday just gone, we got the reveal of the upcoming season Operation Crimson Heist and the Year 6 roadmap as a whole, and I've got to say I'm really impressed. It's coming with a bunch of new features that people are excited for, but also some really key changes that people have been asking for a while, and those are the things I'm most excited about, to be honest. I thought in this video I'd go through some of the things I'm most excited about, and a couple of things after that I'm a bit disappointed about too. But I just want to start off by saying that if you are interested in stuff like what we're talking about in this video, please consider subscribing, as there's a lot more similar content to this coming on its way to the channel. And with that being said, let's get into it. I want to start off by saying, before we get into any points in particular, that I think the things I'm most excited about is that we're going to have a lot of things that are going to gatekeep us from ever returning to the pretty shit meta, to be honest, that was known as the 20-second meta or the utility dump meta, and the rigid operator selection that it forced in with it. So I thought the way I'd do this is start with the Crimson Heist season and then move on to the Year 6 roadmap as a whole. So looking at Crimson Heist, the first thing that comes to mind that I'm really excited about is the new secondary weapon / gadget called the Gon 6, which is a utility destroyer, but it kind of acts in a way between Sophia and Kali, where Sophia's impact grenade or gadget, it will instantly detonate, right? Whereas Kali's has a timer, but if you look at what the hole makes in the wall of the new gadget, it's a similar size to Kali's lance, just a small hole, so I think that's good balancing, to be honest with you, because obviously we want to be able to destroy shields, maestros and whatnot, but you don't want to be able to have so many operators that can just instantly blow a hole in the wall and then say have a teammate follow up behind and just easily gun someone down. That can be pretty frustrating if you're a lower level, especially even just as a Sophia by itself, someone just coming through a door, just instantly blowing it up. Like with Ash you hear the sound and everything, so yeah, I'm really excited for that, and this is definitely something that's going to help make the operator selection a lot more diversified again as well, and combine that with the hard breach, the secondary hard breach that we got recently as well. I think that the pool is really starting to widen now, and it's going to be exciting, not only in ranked and casual and whatnot, but to see it in competitive play as well. Like we might get some really exotic picks in the future and some cool strats around that. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm super excited for. As much as we've had defenders be so strong for a while, I definitely don't want to see the game be completely tilted into the attacker side. I know they said they're kind of leaning towards that, which I think is fine, but I don't want to see it be too unbalanced, so I'm completely fine with it being a secondary weapon, so to say, and not just a gadget or secondary like a flashbang. It will be interesting to see if there are any operators that have the secondary hard breach along with the pistol as well, so they can pretty much do it all themselves. They can destroy the gadgets and open the walls. Yeah, they might need to get rid of bandits and whatnot, but Siege is pretty creative. A lot of maps you can get underneath, you can go above, you can go through drone holes, whatever it be. So, and yeah, with a bit of teamwork, I'm sure you'll be alright. But I'm really interested in that. Like I said, I think it diversifies the picks and means that we aren't forced into picking certain operators. A good example of this, take Consulate Garage for example, where you could have one flare exotic operator with the secondary pistol / gadget, and then one Sophia or nade operator, and you could clear 3 Malusis or 2 Maestro turrets and 1 shield. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's really opening things up. Okay, so moving on to the next thing in the Crimson Heist season that I'm really excited for, and honestly the thing I was probably most excited about when they revealed it on the roadmap last year, and that would be the replay feature. Man, it's hard where to start with this one. This just opens up so many opportunities, not only for your regular player that just wants to look back at a cool clip that they might have got, but also on a much more tactical level when you're looking at competitive teams and they want to review gameplay and come up with new strats and analyze a team. And with the competition getting bigger and bigger, prize pools getting bigger and bigger, I feel like these type of things are important because it really pushes the level of gameplay, you know. Another thing that this is definitely going to increase is the level of content on YouTube. You could talk about any type of YouTubers, from the most hardcore great players like Bolo and his content and being able to have cool angles on, say, an Ace or when he shows his Pro League gameplay, to your more meme YouTubers like Evan Brado and Marley, where say they're doing strats where they're holding a mirror window in the corner of a room or they're prone in the middle of the room. They can get all types of angles from above or from the perspective of the enemy player, you know, and it's going to really create some funny moments. So I'm just super stoked for this. Like, honestly, this is probably the thing I'm most excited about for the whole year, and I know there's so many good things for the game coming and I'm excited for those as well, but this is just so good. Like, I remember when it came to Fortnite, I was so excited for that, and the complexity of Siege just means that it will be on another level to that even. So yeah, super pumped for that, and I'll be definitely on the test server this week having a look at that. One thing for me personally that I find quite disappointing about it though is that it's still not going to be ready for console. Yeah, I'm sure they have reasons and whatnot, and I know they had time and things have been crazy this year, but it's just another example of where console players are kind of being left in the cold and just missing out on the experience and the content, and yeah, it just sucks, to be honest. but overall, I don't want to be negative about it. This is the thing I'm so excited about out of anything, so big up to the devs. I hope they can get that sorted soon. Outside of a few HUD updates to how operators, gadgets and drones interact with mute jammers, and a couple of secondary gadget switch arounds between operators like Twitch and Thinker, that's all I wanted to discuss with the new season, as those are probably the main things that I'm really stoked for. So with that being said, I think we should move on to the Year 6 roadmap as a whole and the other things that I'm looking forward to. So spinning off from this and looking at the Year 6 roadmap as a whole, they've also made some great changes to some utility operators and how their gadgets work. The first one I want to start off with is the Goyo gadget rework. Basically, he's having his Vulcan shield switched from no shield anymore and just a jerry can that was on the back. It can be placed like a Jaeger ADS or a Melusi Banshee, and personally I think this is a great change. Obviously you can never know what the developers had in mind, but from what I could gather, I think originally the idea of Goyo wasn't to be a shield to play behind as like an aggressive style, it was more as an entry or area denial gadget, and I think that having this now is basically that in its core form. Goyo still has a very solid kit and he is a 2-speed, so I still feel like he's going to have a lot of play. He might not have as much as before, as especially for a solo player, all you needed really was a player with an ADS and you could play behind that shield. Whereas now I think with the more coordinated teams are the people that are going to get the most out of him. As much as I think he'll see the most success with more coordinated teams, he is one of those operators like Melusi or Jaeger where he can place his gadget and just go and walk off and do something else on the map, so I definitely think that he's still viable for solo players. I know there's a lot of debate in the community about whether these gadgets are good for the game, ones where you put them down and you can leave and go do something else, but for me personally, I don't really see it as too much of an issue as long as it isn't dominating the game and things like bandit tricking are still viable. I think it's quite cool having these interactions where you can stick them on surfaces because it allows you to get quite creative. You can vault on top of things, place them at high up spots where they're forced to use breaching rounds or grenades, and sometimes even to a point where if they don't have that and you break the cover or the thing that you vaulted on to get there in the first place, they're unbreakable, which I think that's a skill gap. As much as it can be frustrating, I think it rewards people that put in the work to learn the map and learn the spots. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this will play out. Another change that I'm really happy about as well is the Melusi change, where now it won't be completely bulletproof the whole time, and when you go into its area of effect and it starts humming, you'll be able to shoot the top of it. And from what I can see in the video that they showed, it didn't look too hard to shoot. Like, you just kind of need to aim in the general vicinity of the top and it will get destroyed, which is a great, overdue but great change. Everything I've mentioned already, from the Melusi change to the Gon 6, along with the new announced Maestro and Mirror change, where when you punch the Maestro or Evil Eye, it will get blacked out, and same with the Mirror. I think that this is really just going to help minimize the utility dump meta frustration, and yeah, like I said before, gatekeep us from ever having to go back to that, which even if some of these things become not that useful at any level, they'll stop us from ever having to go back to what the meta's been for the last year or so, which is just a great thing regardless. I will say though that some of these changes are coming slightly too late for it to be as well received as I think it would have been about 5 months ago, with the Jaeger change and a couple of other things, but mainly the Jaeger change. Stacking utility is still a thing, but it's way less oppressive than it was about 5 months ago, so I don't think this will get the praise that it would have about 5 months ago. People will still be happy about it though, and utility dump is still a thing, so honestly I think these are welcome changes. Moving on, something that I'm also really excited to try out when it arrives is the operator repick system. Similar to when new ops come to the test server and one person just hogs it for every round, I think that giving it to everyone will be more forgiving for solo queue players, as they'll get an opportunity to do this and influence the game more in this regard than just one person just hogging it for every round to switch from, let's say, Thatcher to an Amaru or something like that. Like, it's going to be very tactical, and that's probably the thing I'm most excited for about it, is at a high level, or more specifically in comp as well, where it's going to be really cool to see how people counter what's in front of them. I'm not sure if it's confirmed that it's coming to comp play, but if it is, I'm going to be really excited. And I think something that will be cool is being able to see whole strats just switch from one strat to another just on the fly, and you could really catch teams off guard that are less coordinated by bringing something that they're just completely not expecting, not just one little wildcard operator, but a whole strat that can be changed, which is just insane. And in ranked, like, no longer are the days where you're going to be droning into the room that you wanted to push through and you see a mirror window facing you. You're going to see that and you're going to be able to change from, let's say, your Thermite to Hibana or Ace, and I think it's the subtle things like this that are just really going to elevate Siege and further increase the skill gap. It's just so creative, and I'm looking forward to that one massively. Okay, so before we move on to the things that I'm a bit more disappointed about, there's one thing that I'm just completely stuck on the fence on, and that would be the access to teammates being able to use your drones and cameras and gadgets and whatnot that are camera feed based. And to be honest with you, it's very interesting, like, it sounds cool or whatever, but I just really don't want it to become oppressive. I think stuff like this can become to a point where it minimizes clutch potential, it just becomes too much of a headache big when you're trying to move through certain areas, whether it be on attack or defense. Like, it will not be fun getting stunned by someone who spawn kills as Echo or spawn kills as Doc and dies and is able to just jump on Echo's drone and just stun you and move it around as if they're still alive. Like, a lot of these rounds, Echo or a Maestro, but more so an Echo, is hiding. Their gun isn't up for the majority of the round, and them being dead is not that far off of that if they can still use the drone effectively. I know he's had a nerf recently, but I just still think stuff like this, and vice versa on attack, where people can use the drones who have just flown in the window with Amaru and died instantly, can basically be that live droner for their second entry. It's just not something that I'm too happy about, but at the same time I think it's very interesting. And you know, a lot of the time they say that the problem with this game is that there's a lot of downtime, and I think of course that's part of why they've added this in, so it will be good in that regard, but I don't want to jump to conclusions just yet. I'm on the fence on that one. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to some things that I found a bit disappointing before I round off the video with a couple of quickfire points about things I haven't mentioned yet I found interesting from the reveal. I'll try and keep these negatives short and sweet, as overall they aren't really that big of a deal and in comparison to the amount of positive changes that I'm seeing. Okay, so the first thing I'm a bit disappointed about is best of ones. I would have preferred to see best of threes all around, or at least best of twos like there was in LATAM last season, as there was something so glamorous with those games. Even watching a lower placed team playing is much more appealing and it's more of a spectacle. Best of ones are over before you know it, but I can imagine they've gone with this for scheduling reasons, which is fair enough. As someone who lived in the EU though, who watched all of the NAL last season, I would often be up till the early hours of the morning watching the second B of 3 each playday. For a hardcore CG sports fan, I'd much rather watch best of 3s and stay up late, but I imagine best of 1s make playdays more accessible for those with busy schedules or more casual viewers. Either way, at least there'll be no draws in any regions, which is a great change, and it was needed. On a wider scale, something I think that more people are going to be angry about is no new maps. We're getting Border, Favela, which is going to be a casual rework, smaller map buffs to multiple maps, and Outback. Talking on Outback, Outback was actually the last new map we received, which was about 2 years ago to this month, which is crazy really thinking about it. Moving forward, if we continue to have such a wide variety of gameplay and operator changes, then to be honest I'm more than happy with just having one operator a season, even if sometimes they're slightly underwhelming, which is fine. For example, I'm probably more excited for the Gon 6 than the new drone operator Flores, which Flores looks great, but still I just think some of these other changes just are so much more impactful in the long run and more useful, so yeah. That's completely fine for me. When you think as well about a lot of other games, and just give one for example, Apex, I know they're completely different when it comes to tacticalness and whatever, but they only have one new operator a season, and yeah, games like that, it's just 2 is actually thinking about it is a lot, you know, so we were lucky. Talking on the Favela rework, I would just say like, what does this game want to be? I think they need to remember what the fundamentals of this game are, and that it's based around competitive gameplay regardless. Like, what even is a casual rework? I feel like a competitive rework is accessible to a casual player, whereas a casual rework is not accessible to a ranked or competitive player. Is a casual rework just a fancy way of saying that we don't want to put the time in to figure out what changes need to be made to a map that need reworking to become competitive again, and we just want an excuse for the art team to have a new challenge? Harsh, but I feel like there's some truth behind it. Okay, so last point on the disappointing side, I just want to say that I think 2 weeks of exclusivity for operators through the Battle Pass is a bit too long for me, and I think 1 week is fine. But I understand why, and making the Battle Pass needs to be more valuable for its money. But think about this, again, back to console. If you're on console and you consume YouTube videos but you're not buying the Battle Pass or you don't have the money to spend on it, then it's going to be 6 weeks until you get to actually get your hands on the content, and you could be watching YouTube videos for 6 weeks in that time and Twitch streamers seeing all the coolest things happen, and by the time it comes, the value of excitement definitely would have gone down. And I think it's important for the developers to remember that we need these players to stay interactive on all platforms and to keep enjoying the game as it moves forward. Player retention is so important. So that's all the things that I'm disappointed about, but again, they're minor compared to the great changes and new features that are getting added. So now I'm going to round up with some quick final notes and some honourable mentions that I haven't said yet. But quickly, it's good to hear some updates on the reputation system, smurfing and deranking exploits. I think that this is really important, and I'm glad that they've addressed it again. I think if they decide to intertwine the reputation system with some sort of reward system, the game will see more positive, tangible outcomes with rewards that people actually care about, whether that be exclusive cool charms and skins, purple alpha packs, renown boosters, or something new that we haven't seen in the game yet. These rewards need to be worth it for them to really have an impact. Unfortunately, just being a non-toxic, non-disruptive player isn't enough for some people, so these rewards might be the fine line that tips a player from being toxic to following the rules. I'm excited to see what they have planned for Fuse being more accessible and useful in the coming year of Siege. I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this for years, so it's good to get confirmation that they're actually aware of it. Also, the customizable elite changes, kind of mix and match style, is very cool. Quick example, the Haunted House Dock headgear combined with the Dock Elite is a very cool combo, and there are many others that come to mind. And finally, Border Rework looks good and it's been playing great. I've been enjoying myself this week, got some nice little clips, maybe you'll see some of them in here. The only area that I'm not the biggest fan of is the AC balcony. I know that before there was really hard to displace someone that was hiding behind that AC box. Now there's pretty much no spots where you're completely safe without someone running out from vent's window, or if you're playing right next to the window that goes into archives just getting nitroed easily, or them running out of archives door. So yeah, I guess it will just take getting used to, but overall I really enjoy it. It's very clean. I'm a fan of these small tweak map buffs like Clubhouse and Cafe, but I do think as well fully reworked maps and new maps still need to be a thing, otherwise the map pool could get very boring even with these map reworks or better worded map buffs. As we know, this is only a roadmap, but hats off to the devs for the ambition shown and the feedback from the community being taken on board. Let's just hope they can hit most of these targets, as last year's roadmap in hindsight ended up being a bit disappointing, as some big features like the replay system and reputation system were not implemented. But yeah, super stoked, and this is probably one of the most enjoyable days of content for Siege that has been revealed, so to say, that I've had in a while, so hats off. With that being said, I'm going to round up the video here. Thank you again for everyone who stayed to the end, left a like, even dropped by, comment, shared, anything. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy anything like this and you want to see more content like this on the channel, just drop a subscribe in the box below or the little pop-up that's going to be on the screen right now. And yeah, I hope that you're looking forward to the new content as much as I am, and if you have anything that you enjoyed, please share it below, and anything else you want to see me discuss on this channel. This is our channel and I want this place to be an area where people can discuss the game back and forth between themselves and me, and so yeah, get involved and hit me with some questions, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.
Come out and play.